Hey guys, how's it going today? It's Aunt Becca here, and I'm going to do something new today. We're going to do a chapter book, and it's called Chocolate by Hershey. It's a story about Milton S. Hershey. It's written by Betty Buford, and illustrations are by Loren Chantland. And so it's more of like a chapter book, so there's not really pictures, but I hope you'll enjoy the story. Here's the first picture. And let's get started. This is Chapter 1, Pennsylvania Farm Boy. Eastern Pennsylvania was a dangerous place that hot July of 1863. The Civil War had come as far as a little town called Gettysburg. And now there was a rumor that General Lee was going to march on Philadelphia. If the rumor was true, the Confederate Army of the South could troop right through the Hershey farm. 5-year-old Milton Hershey lived with his parents and his younger sister, Serena, just 40 miles from Gettysburg. The horrible bloody war had torn the country apart, and now it had come to the Hershey's doorstep. Although they knew they couldn't stop the war from coming, many farmers in the area decided they could save their valuables by burying them. Milton wanted to save his valuables too, so he scooted under his bed to get his precious matchbox full of pennies. Milton carefully saved each penny he earned from running errands, and he planned to spend them at the candy store. Milton loved all kinds of candy: sour balls, caramels, nougat, peppermint. He was not going to risk losing any of his hard-earned cash, so he found a small shovel and began to dig behind one of the bushes lining the path to the back door. He slipped the box into the hole and covered it up with dirt. By the time he was finished, it was almost dark. The next day, the Hersheys could hear the boom of the cannon fire coming from the south. For 3 long days, the Hersheys and their neighbors waited in fear. They had no idea who was winning. Finally, word came that Union troops of the North had won the battle, and the Confederates had retreated. The Hersheys could stop worrying, and life could return to normal. On the morning after the battle, Milton dug furiously behind one bush after another. He couldn't remember exactly where he had buried his matchbox. The yard looked much different in daylight than it had at nightfall. Just then, his shovel struck something. He dug faster and unearthed his box. His pennies were safe. Milton couldn't wait to get to the candy store. Milton Snavely Hershey was born on September the 13th, 1857, in an old stone farmhouse built by his great-grandfather near the little town of Dairy Church, Pennsylvania. Milton's family belonged to a religious group called the Mennonites. His parents' ancestors had left their homes in Switzerland because their government required every able-bodied man to do military service. The Mennonites were peace-loving people and didn't believe in war. Many of them came to the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, where William Penn had promised religious freedom, and followed their sober way of life. They dressed in plain clothes, worked hard, and avoided most common forms of entertainment. They did not dance or play cards or go to the theater. They felt it was wrong to read for pleasure. Their only reading was the Bible. Milton's mother, Fanny Hershey, taught young Milton these Mennonite beliefs. She taught him the golden rule: do to others as you want them to do to you. She also taught him to work hard and to be careful with money. Henry Hershey, Milton's father, was not a typical Mennonite farmer. He loved to read and was a great talker. He read about faraway places, unusual facts, and how things worked. He always had some new scheme in his head. Henry kept trying new ideas on the farm, such as planting fruit trees or raising trout. He had some good ideas, but he didn't have the money to see them through. There was never much money at the Hershey household. Fanny's sister, Mattie Snavely, had no use for Henry. She didn't approve of Henry's ideas or that he didn't like to stay in one place for very long. Mattie never married, and she lived with her brothers, Abe and Ben, on the Snavely farm near Lancaster, about 30 miles from Dairy Church. Maddie dearly loved her nephew Milton, and two sisters, Maddie and Fanny, were close friends throughout their lives. Milton loved his parents equally, but he realized that he could never be the serious, sober Mennonite that his mother was. He loved fun too much. Milton knew that hard work came before having fun. He helped out on the farm every day, feeding the chickens, driving the cows to pasture, and doing other chores. But Saturday was the day of the week he liked best. On Saturday, his father loaded the wagons with eggs, butter, vegetables, and the whole family set out to the market at nearby Harrisburg. While Fanny waited on customers and took care of Serena, Henry chatted with anyone and everybody who stopped by. Then came the moment Milton had waited for all week. He was allowed to go to the candy store. Each week, the hardest part was deciding which delicious treat to choose. When Milton was 7, he started his education at the one-room schoolhouse in Derry Church. The students sat on long benches, and when the teacher's back was turned, the boys played a game called Scrooging. The boys in the middle pushed the boys next to him, each one pushing till the boys at the end of the bench fell onto the floor. The next year, when he was 8, Milton went to the Rock Ridge School. Milton had not done well at Derry Church, and he didn't do any better at the new school. He wasn't much of a student, and it didn't help that the Hersheys kept moving. By the time Milton was 9, they had moved several times because his father could not stay in one place for long. When Milton was 11, tragedy struck the Hershey family. Milton's little sister Serena died. From that time on, Fanny put all her hopes in Milton. She wanted him to make a success of his life, and perhaps she had extra hope for Milton because Henry could never quite make his ideas work. Well, that's the end of chapter 1, and I'll see you guys next time. Mwah.